You're listening to The Briefing, first broadcast on the 3rd of September 2025 on Monocle Radio. The Briefing in association with Addis. Hello and a very warm welcome to The Briefing, broadcasting live from Studio One here at Midori House in London. I'm Chris Chermak. Coming up on today's programme, the tables have turned between Italy and France, with Paris complaining that the Italians are stealing their millionaires. Ed Stalker in Milan, what's the story?
We're looking at tax breaks, Chris, that are luring the mega rich to come and reside in Italy.
Thanks very much, Ed. We'll also get the latest business headlines with Ewan Potts, and we'll head once more to the Venice Film Festival with our favourite film critic, Karen Krzanovich. All that right here on The Briefing with me, Chris Chermak. We will start in Italy, where a row with France is heating up. Prime Minister François Bayrou, as if he didn't have enough problems at the moment, now claims that Rome is engaging in fiscal dumping to attract French millionaires across the border. Italy's Giorgia Meloni rejects the allegations and insists it is her country's stability and lifestyle that is winning people over. Well, here to tell us who's right and who's wrong is our very own Europe editor-at-large, Ed Stalker, who joins us from Milan, which is at the epicenter of all of this, isn't it, Ed? And we'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, just pick a side for us, will you? Italy or France? Who's right?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I live in Italy, so do I need to come out in Italy's defence? I think for Meloni to claim stability, let's say that Italy doesn't have a track record of fiscal or political stability, so therefore one might rule that out. Look, you can see both sides. Obviously, Italy is not the only country to do this, to have advantageous rules for high earners in order to attract them to move their tax residency to that country and therefore spend money in that economy, bring money into the economy. That's what Italy's doing. Portugal had a very advantageous rule from 2009 until 2024, when it was cancelled due to the spiralling house prices. Greece currently does have a rule as well, 7% on foreign earnings. So Italy's not the only one to do it. But obviously you understand François Bayrou. You said before, he's got a few problems. He has a vote of confidence on the 8th of September, and he's trying to introduce this massive austerity, 44 billion euros he's looking to save France. And so therefore, if a load of wealthy French people are then upping and leaving France, that's not good for him, when he's hoping perhaps in the future that he might be able to tax those individuals to bring some money into France's coffers. Even the left has suggested this tax on wealthy French people who earn over 100 million euros of 2%. So you've got to look at it with all that in play, really, Chris.
You can look at all of that, but Ed, it is interesting listening to you there. I mean, when we talk about the stability thing, do you get the sense, though, that the tables have kind of turned here? I mean, Italy used to be the less stable one, as you say, it doesn't have the history, but these days maybe Meloni is right to point to her country being the stable one, and France being the one that has budget problems and all the rest.
Well, look, Italy has always been, has had a very high debt in Europe and continues to do so. But obviously, France has been playing the catch-up game, hasn't it? Crippled by debt and having to look at its spending. So in that sense, yes. In terms of this model, we're talking about very high-worth individuals. Just to give listeners an explanation, because we haven't yet. Italy has an advantageous tax break, if you like, with a flat rate tax on foreign earnings of 200,000 euros, and that's for up to 15 years. It's sometimes called the Ronaldo tax, because footballer Cristiano Ronaldo was the first to take advantage of this law when he was playing for Juventus Football Club. A bit of trivia for you there, Chris.
Well, that also takes us to Milan. Thank you for that trivia bit, because I do want to
Juventus is in Turin, but okay.
I'm losing my Italian
It doesn't even want to be corrected on air.
I do.
You can't handle being corrected on air.
It's all right. I'll be corrected on air. It's okay. I'll take that, Ed. Fair point for me. But Milan is the one at the epicenter at the moment, whether it is Ronaldo who started all of this or not. Tell us about that. What is Milan benefiting from this? And also, I understand the locals are frankly a bit angry about it because they're priced out of everything.
Well, look, Italy is an attractive destination for some of the reasons we talked about this idea of Italian lifestyle, the Dolce Vita, reports, and this has been going on for a long time. These tax breaks have been since 2016, so it's been going for quite a long time. But obviously, with the UK changing its non-dom status rules, there's been Brits arriving here, French as well, like we said. So there has been some movement in that regard due to changes in other countries. But Milan is, I guess, attractive from the sense that it still feels quite small. It's easy to get around. It's not a massive city. It's not a New York. It's not a London. It's not a Paris. You can be easily away for the weekend in just a few hours. You can be, in Liguria on the coast, sipping a nice wine. So, it's very easy to get out of. So from those lifestyle point of views, it is attractive. Like I said before, it is quite a small place, and it's people tend to live quite centrally in quite a tight urban core, and so the demand is far outstripping the supply. There is a chronic lack of housing, despite new houses being built in some areas, and so we are seeing prices rise considerably. So of course, that old chestnut of gentrification, people being priced out, and just as someone who's recently, actually today, in fact, Chris, bought a home in Italy, a flat, I might add.
Breaking news on Monocle Radio. Congratulations, Ed.
Thank you. It is hard. It is hard to find one, and it is costly. So those are some of the problems, with all cities that become more attractive. Those are some of the consequences that you do face.
Ed, I don't know. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. Congratulations on the house in Milan.
Want to break it. I say house. It is a flat. House makes it sound bigger than it is.
You're not one of those millionaires. Is that what you're trying to say? That was attracted to Milan.
I did. Unfortunately, journalism isn't quite there yet. I did sign about 74 bits of paper today. So there you go. Well, the bureaucracy is another fun side of Italy.
Oh, the fun bureaucracy. Well, we'll let you get back to that. But just before you go, I am curious if Milan has sort of a reputation now within Italy. Does it kind of add to that reputation? Are people jealous of all these millionaires going to Milan? Do they wish that maybe some of this would, trickle down to other Italian cities?
Well, there is a suggestion, looking at the figures, that some people are moving, of course, to Rome, which is still, the capital and a massive hub, and Florence, which is, always attracted foreigners to move to the Bel Paese. So, Milan just has, I guess, a high concentration when it comes to finance, business, design. It is an economic hub, and it's strategically placed near to Switzerland, etc., etc. So for those reasons, yes. Jealous perhaps, but there's always a bit of rivalry around Italy. People love to hate people from Milan from the rest of Italy, so I guess that will continue, Chris.
And you get to join in that now, Ed, as the brand new homeowner in Milan. Ed Stalker, Monocle's Europe editor at large. We'll let you get back to signing all that paperwork. Here's Tom Webb with the day's other news headlines.
Thanks, Chris. China has unveiled new weapons at a huge military parade marking 80 years since its victory over Japan in World War II. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un joined dozens of other world leaders. On the sidelines, Putin thanked Kim's troops for fighting in Ukraine and called the ties between the two countries friendly. 11 people have died after the US military struck an alleged drug boat in the southern Caribbean. President Trump says the vessel had ties to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua cartel, which the US designates as a foreign terrorist organization. It's the first such operation since Washington sent warships, including a nuclear submarine, to the region. Singapore will treat severe turbulence as a top safety risk after 2 accidents last year, which caused 1 death and multiple injuries. Aviation authorities plan 45 actions to improve safety and prevent future incidents. Turbulence is now considered as serious as runway or mid-air collision risks. Those are the day's headlines. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks very much, Tom. This is The Briefing, just gone 12:10 here in London, and it's time now for an update of the business headlines with Bloomberg's Ewan Potts. Ewan, great to have you back on the show. We are going to start with turmoil in the global bond markets. Doesn't that sound cheery? What's behind the sell-off?
Hello, Chris. Yeah, stocks are having a good day today, but global investors are focused elsewhere. That is on the nasty sell-off we've been seeing in the bond markets. Now, when a bond sells off, that pushes the yield, the interest rate on those bonds higher. The route is fairly global in nature, but I'll just give you a couple of striking examples of where we're at. The yield on UK 30-year government bonds is now close to 5.7%. Just a year ago, that was only 4.5%. That's the highest level since 1998, when a fresh-faced Tony Blair had just taken over as Prime Minister. Over in Japan, the yield on 20-year government bonds is also at the highest level this century. Now, why do we care about all of this? Well, bond yields affect the cost of borrowing for all of us, indirectly pushing up mortgage rates, and it's a big problem for the many governments who are swimming in debt. The UK and Japan just being 2 examples of a very long list of governments in that position. Now, there are 2 key reasons behind the sell-off, and that's inflation and those elevated levels of government borrowing. Inflation in the UK is almost twice the Bank of England's target. And we know in America, Donald Trump has been very clear that he wants the Federal Reserve to slash interest rates. Reports that they're interviewing for candidates for the next Fed chair to take over at the beginning of next year. And it's clear they want somebody who's going to cut interest rates. So that is all concerning for bond investors. If you've got a bond with a fixed return, the last thing you want is inflation. And then, of course, there's all that government borrowing. That means issuing more bonds. And of course, if there's more things being issued, other things being equal, that will push down the price of those bonds. So those borrowing headlines we hear from the UK and from the likes of France, where the government may well fall next week over the lack of a budget plan, that is all bad news for the bond market.
It certainly is bad news. And Ewan, I mean, you gave so many examples there. We've reported on a fair few of them here on Monocle Radio as well, particularly France. But as you say, UK, Japan, the United States. I mean, are investors just also then losing confidence in the politicians to actually get control of their large debt burdens?
Yeah, well, as you say, it just seems that politics is gridlocked. If you take the example of France, there's been so much toing and froing over the budget, and they have a lot of left-wing parties in Parliament and populist parties, and none of them want to be seen to be attacking the goodies which are handed out to electors. You know, so France's government spending is very high, but nobody wants to cut it, and nobody wants to be seen to be raising the retirement age. There was a proposal for getting rid of 2 bank holidays. Now we understand that perhaps may be rowed back on. So it's very difficult to get anything done. And we see the same problem in the UK, where the Chancellor here, Rachel Reeves, really struggled to cut the welfare bill. So governments all around Europe and elsewhere are really failing to rein in these deficits. And in the US, Donald Trump's just passed a big bill which cuts taxes for many people. And American government borrowing is already very high. And we're not even in a recession. This is high government borrowing during good times. So it's understandable that bond investors may be thinking, gosh, hold on a minute, what's going on?
There could be a government shutdown in the US as well, but that's, a story for another time, Ewan. We have other news that we wanted to get to with you, because there has been a big story about Google and court rulings that have been happening, US and Europe looking at this. The parent company has some good news about their Chrome browser. Basically, the company gets to stay whole.
Yeah, Chrome is shining bright for Google. Shares in parent company Alphabet jumping in pre-market trade in New York today, up some 6.5%. Now, the world's 4th most valuable companies had a bit of good news today in the biggest American antitrust case in 30 years. A US judge has ruled that Google does not need to sell its Chrome web browser. Last year, a court ruled that Google had illegally monopolized the market for online search and search advertising, and antitrust enforcers were seeking to force the company to sell off its web browser. You can understand that Alphabet, Google were not happy with that. They fought that, and they've won that case in the US. but the company will be made to share online search data with rivals. It's not happy about that. The ruling is also, in fact, a win for the world's third most valuable company. Apple gets paid roughly $20 billion a year for making Google the default search option on iPhones. And although the court says that Google will be barred from exclusivity deals, the company will still be able to make payments to partners. So it's a bit of a double win for some of the tech giants.
Double win there. Good for them, Ewan. Ewan Potts, thank you very much for joining us. It's Ewan Potts from Bloomberg. You're listening to The Briefing on Monocle Radio. And you are back with The Briefing. I'm Chris Chermak, and it's time to head once again to Venice, where the Venice Film Festival continues, and our resident film critic there, Karen Krasanovic, has been taking it all in. Karen, it's been 24 whole hours since we last spoke with you. Have you been soaking in the atmosphere?
I have been, very much so. The atmosphere inside every screening room here, I think, pretty much. But the weather has gotten a little bit better. It's now sunny and hot. So we're happy with that. And I still haven't had a gelato. But I was thinking people are probably going to want to know, because the festival's starting to wind up. Only next couple of days, there'll be a few screenings left. But there've been a lot of celebrities here. And I just thought maybe people would like to know that Idris Elba was here, Dwayne Johnson, Greta Lee, Gabriel Basso, Anthony Ramos, Sofia Coppola. Virtually everybody that was featured in a film here actually came, which I think is amazing.
And just paint a little picture for us, if you could, Karen. What does that look like on the ground? Where do you go? You have all these screenings. Like, where do you see the actors? How does all that look?
Well, it's all sort of laid out. I always wondered why they didn't have it on the mainland, because I said Lido is a Long Island off of where you would normally go across the lagoon. But it's actually a very small area. It's around a big casino, which is where I am now, where the press room is. And there is handily a dock in the back with all those lovely painted poles and everything. And people don't bring gondolas, pretty much, although there are a few here. Usually it's a beautiful Riva boat. That's those gorgeous wooden sided, elegant boats that come in motor launches that bring the celebrities in. And it's just perfect. They arrive by water, and it's extremely beautiful and very exciting. So everybody crowds back there and yells and screams and takes pictures, but in a very non-Cannes Film Festival kind of way.
No, I mean, they're clearly bringing the uniqueness of Venice there with them all arriving by boat. We do want to talk about some of the films you've been seeing, Karen. I mean, yesterday we talked about nuclear war, and today we do have the subject of Gaza. What's going on over there? It feels like films cannot escape politics right now.
No, actually, and in fact, that's one of the films I saw this morning called Duze. It's just focused on the fact that Duze was a famous Italian actress. Now, I'm not an expert on Italian theatrical history before World War I, but if you watch this film, you will be. Her name was Eleonora Duze, and she traveled around the world, actually, but she was very important to early pre-World War I theater, to bring more emotion and more sort of weight to female roles. It's hard to believe that before her, female roles were sort of more chorus and the male roles are more important. But this is about the end of her life, pretty much, but her sort of having to deal with Mussolini and everything else in Italy. And she's talking about making the theater reflect the war. And of course, her people not wanting to give her money to do that. They want classical theater. So I think that actually Duze I found was felt very old-fashioned to me. It might be exciting for those that can speak Italian. Mine isn't that good, but it's an important film, I think. But leading on to the one after that is the one that's making all the hubbub now, and it's called The Voice of Hind Rajab by Tunisian filmmaker Kauthar Ben Hanig. And it follows the story of Hind Rajab, who's a 5-year-old or 6-year-old Palestinian girl who was trapped in a car during the Israeli invasion of the Gaza Strip. And now this has backing from some heavy money, like Brad Pitt's production company Plan B. It's a very short film. It's about 89 minutes, but it is harrowing, and people were in tears, and there were people standing outside. When you leave the cinema, a lot of times they'll try and get you to talk on camera about what you've just seen. and that was one of these. And there is word amongst the critics that she, the filmmaker of The Voice of Indra Rajab, forgive me, will be getting an award for this because it's been very, very hard hitting.
It is a hard-hitting one, absolutely, and one that's on an important subject, Karen. But you did mention awards there, and so I did want to end with a little chat around that. Some of the first awards, in a way, have already been given out. I understand there was a charity gala for AMFAR honoring the American filmmaker Julian Schnabel.
Yes, and also he's receiving the Cartier Glory to the Filmmaker Award, which never heard of it, but never mind. We all like a gong. Why not? Now, Julian Schnabel, of course, we all know, began his life as an artist, and he's gone into film, making things like The Diving Bell and The Butterfly and Basquiat. Julian is here right now, not with me, but he's here on the Lido. And I saw his film last night. It was terrible.
Oh, he's not getting this award for current filmmaking then. Is that what you're trying to say? For a body of work.
One of the critics said to me, you should look at it as, hey, we're all at the circus. And I thought, that's a wonderful way of looking at it. It's just, it's got so many great actors in it, but he had trouble getting this film accepted in festivals. Now, that's not unusual, but it had John Malkovich, who's always good leading actor, and Isaacs in it, but the story, it's about a group of gangsters finding the original manuscript of Dante's Divine Comedy. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I think you'll have a lot of fun watching it. If you liked Megalopolis, you'll love this. But I was reading an article in the New Yorker saying, where's the old-fashioned critics who actually say what they think? And I thought, okay, I won't use the word stinko because possibly people might like it. But he is getting awards because it's important to keep going. Not every film can be a humdinger, but it's important to make films, and every film has an audience. So I will leave it right there.
I mean, you ended on a very diplomatic note there after all of that, Karen, which is impressive that you turned from stinker to every film has an audience. Just finally, Karen, we did talk about Dead Man's Wire yesterday, the film from Gus Van Sant, and you get the sense that he'll get an award too.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up because he's already received a Campari, another award. Campari,
Cartier, everything's there.
Cartier, Campari, you name it. If it's fun or tastes nice, we've got it. Campari official Passion for Film Award 2025, and I love talking to lots of critics are here, and I love talking to the critics here because they're saying that this is a return to form for him. And Gus Van Sant makes a lot of television, but this is going to be an award winner. So let's just watch the clock and see what happens.
Good luck to all. You're all winners out there, aren't you? Even if Karen is going to lay into a couple of your films. Karen Krzanovich, film critic, thank you very much for joining us. That's all the time we have for this edition of The Briefing. It was produced by Laura Kramer. Our researcher was Henry King, and our studio manager was the wonderful Flynn Simons. The Briefing is back tomorrow at the same time. I'm Chris Chermak. Goodbye, and thanks for listening.